G'day ladies and gentlemen, Duckville here. Welcome to a StarCraft Wings of Liberty cast. This is going to be one of the few remaining Wings of Liberty casts that I do. As I've said before, going to be focusing mostly on Heart of the Swarm these days, just so you guys can keep up with how Heart of the Swarm is going if you don't have it yourself, or if you're just sort of wanting to have a look around at what some of the pros are doing in that. But this is a bit of a special occasion, of course. Our blue Terran up at the top right-hand side is one who has been a favorite player of mine for quite a long time, joined my favorite team, and has unfortunately just left the team recently, so it looks like they have released a pack for it of replays as a bit of a farewell to him, so I thought I would do some of these replays myself, as I said, given that he's been one of my favorite Terran players in the scene, in the Brood War scene, and of course in StarCraft 2. He's done some really cool stuff. It is Liquid C. So we'll find out what he's going to do. He is up against a Zerg player. This is Entomb Valley, of course, one of the very interesting maps. It's interesting to see how this goes in TvZ, because it can go either way. Sometimes Terran players aren't too, sometimes they don't like it, sometimes they do, especially when you sort of spawn in these positions when you've got close ground. But anyway, our red Zerg player down at the bottom right-hand side goes by the name of, it is in Korean, it's Pak Myung-soo, if I got that correct. Which is the name of a Brood War player. I'm not actually sure of the status of this guy at the moment. His name was Yellow, not actually the Yellow of Boxer versus Yellow fame, if you're aware of that kind of rivalry from the past. But he is a player who was on KT for quite a while. Was a reasonably good player, but either way, I don't think it's actually that player, but what we'll do is we'll call him Yellow anyway, just for continuity's sake, and just to make sure that I don't feel completely crazy. But as we can see, he has actually scouted out that C's gone for a couple of forward barracks here, so he's going to try and put some pressure on Yellow as soon as he can. And we'll see, he hasn't actually scouted out exactly where his opponent is just yet, but should have a pretty good idea. As we can see, he's just going to have a quick look and find that there's no natural hatchery there. A good guess will mean that his opponent is probably going to be down in one of the southern positions here. As we can see, a couple of Marines just heading out to try and find out what is going on. It looks like here comes the SCV, so he should be able to put some pressure on this base. It's important to note the hatchery is actually just about to complete, and I don't actually think he saw the SCV coming, but he should definitely be aware of it. As we can see, Yellow has actually finished off that spawning pool. He's got his gas coming out as well, just to make sure he can try and get the ling speed up as quickly as he can. But I tell you what, we'll have to be very careful, because as we can see, the Marines just sort of funneling into position there. That little choke point there, very cute little place to put those Marines until the bunker finishes. But it is going to finish, and now Yellow is going to see that there is quite a threat upon him. Bunker is now done. 3 Marines inside. A couple of lings are going to pop out, so they're going to be used for defense very soon. He's actually sort of hidden them for the moment. Very clever little tactic there. The SCV coming through says, you know what? What's going on inside the main? Not too much. So he's going to be happy to just sort of sit back for the moment. And it looks like C is going to try and bunker off that ramp. Should be able to try and protect his main Marine force here. As we can see, they're just going to be microed around quite a bit. Lings now coming out to try and defend, but it looks like they will have the last laugh in a way. But here come the rest of the Lings that were inside the main. C, utterly unprepared for that. And with that, it looks like it's hard to say. Actually, he should still be able to get this hatchery. I mean, the Lings, of course, are going to try and stop any further Marine reinforcements coming down into this fight. And then once these extra 12 Lings come out, he should be able to come down here and try and deal with this force. But the problem is there are now 2 bunkers here, and you can shoot down quite a lot of those Lings. And as we can see, looks like the hatchery is not going to survive. So C is going to take quite a nice position here in the early stages of this game. As we can see, the Queen's now coming down, the Lings as well, the Broodlings also coming out, helping out to clean up the rest of those Marines, and they will try and take down all of this. A little bit of micro here from C, getting his Marines outside. I'm not sure what the plan of that was, but that'll be the end, and our speed is done. So as we can see, Yellow is going to head out on the map, try and perhaps get some damage done, but at the moment, C, well prepared, has got a double barracks wall going up here alongside the earlier 2 racks, and should be quite fine. So we'll have to find out what C's going to transition to from here. Normally I would say, well, he's got 4 barracks, he's probably going to go mech, but I don't know if that's the case. I kind of like the I kind of like this position here for buyer style, and I don't know, it's kind of hard to call at the moment. And I probably would have expected C to actually grab his gases by now if he was going to try and tick up towards mech off this sort of play. But he hasn't done that just yet. What is this Marine doing? This guy is just across the map just trying to find some random overlords. But he won't find any. There's nothing over there. Back at home for Yellow, still just powering away at those drones. He's going to try and recover his economy, of course, with that hatchery going down. His work account is still quite far behind, and of course, because of the fact that he had to spend so many larvae making all these defensive links to stop that bunker pressure, so he's still quite far behind his Terran opponent. And C's going to take advantage of that, building up a third command center. His double gas inside the main is now being taken, and is just finishing up now. So we'll see what he is going to go for. Of course, if we see any tech labs or reactors, those kinds of cool things, we'll probably see him switch into a biostar. If we see a factory go down, then I don't know, perhaps we'll see him go for mech, but we'll keep an eye on that. As we can see, C just getting a little bit of a scout inside the main. The Queen dealing with that one Marine, going to start that creep spread as well. Nicely done for the opening stage. Has got triple tumors outside, just trying to have a quick poke around, and he is also just having a look at the front just to see exactly what's going on. Did see that there was a tech lab, actually, there it is, tech lab going down, and C is probably going to get started on combat shields or stim. We'll have to see. Perhaps stim, or nope. It's going to be, yep, it is going to be stim. Okay. So he is going to go for a bio style here. We'll probably see him try and get some medevacs out pretty quickly as well, just to try and make sure he has that healing ability and can do some more pushing. But back at home for Yellow, still continuing to drone up at the moment. He's got 5 more on the way. A Baneling Nest is also in production. There is a Roach Warren as well, just to make sure he's got enough of the various units to try and defend, or perhaps go for a bust if he so desires. And in fact, picking up gases number 3. Is that 1, 2? Yep, just 3 for the moment. So he hasn't actually gone too hard on the gas. So I don't think we're going to try and bust in. Of course, if you try and bust in against a quadruple barracks wall, you're going to have a pretty hard time doing that unless you've got about 6,000 banelings. But I don't know, perhaps he might try and go for that. Work account for C, sitting at 39 right about now. Of course, he does have triple orbital command, so he will be able to get out 3 SCVs at a time, not to mention those extra mules that will also help him out quite a lot in getting that count up. The star put on the way, factory is getting a tech lab up, so he's not going to go for too many medevacs right at the start. Sometimes you do see players will grab a few medevacs, perhaps try and do a drop as that kind of pressure before any type of drop defense gets out, like mutas and things like that. But at the moment, he's not going to go for that. Probably going to grab a few tanks and go for a very economic style. Probably going to look to take this third base and just make sure that's all nice and secure. So for Yellow, he's actually gotten a whole bunch of drones out. He's up to 61 drones, doing quite nicely, trying to get that count back up. Of course, he's starting to get some of his tech on the way as well. The double Evo chambers researching melee weapons level 1 and carapace level 1 as well. So he's going to try and just make sure he's prepared. Of course, that'll help out with Banelings and the Lings just on the ground, trying to keep that map control going for him. And we'll see. It looks like, yep, there's some of these add-ons for C. He's got 3 reactors coming, so that's going to be 6 Marines at a time, plus a possible 7th here out of this barracks. In fact, he's got so many Marines already. Look at this. He's got 32 Marines along with a tank now. So he's going to be sitting in a very nice position here. He's going to have adequate defense to take that third base. And as we can see, Lings are going to have to retreat for the time being, because there is no way they're going to be able to try and face off with 32 Marines sitting out the front door of C's base. So he does take the third now, and he's going to look to grab gases number 5 and 6 as well. Throwing down a couple of mules and probably just a couple of SCVs transferring across. He's looking very, very sharp with that macro, up there to 56 SCVs. The drone count of Yellow now up to 75. He's at that point where you start to think, all right, let's get all the tech prepared, and he's going to do that straight away. An infestation pit going down right now for Yellow. He's also got a macro hatch inside the main, just building at the moment, so he's going to make sure he's got all that production capability prepared. A couple of roaches on the way, and you know, as I said, I don't think that Yellow is going to go for some kind of bust here, because there's just no real way to try and push past this heavy sort of wall, a very, very strong wall there. A lot of Marines, a couple of tanks are now out as well, and it looks like these guys just going to try and transition into a mid-game and a late game, of course, with all those upgrades coming out for C. 1-1 on his bio units is on the way. A Viking just randomly roaming around the map. Does find a prey just off in the corner there. We'll find that one Overlord. Should be able to kill it before that Spore Crawler finishes. In fact, the Queen coming along to try and help out, but I don't think that's going to help. One more shot from that Viking. Down he goes. So the Viking is now going to have a quick check through here. This is the Lost Viking if I've ever seen one. Just flying across the Zerg base here, having a quick look at what tech is going on. Finds the Baneling Nest, and of course that the lair is still here. We have not switched into the hive just yet, so no quick hive, just making sure that his opponent is keeping on track with a standard sort of macro game at the moment. But I would sort of expect Yellow to probably switch into that hive very soon. I mean, he's got a brilliant economy going. He's got his 4th base just about to pop here, as we can see, and he will be able to get started on those much higher tech units. Of course, the infestation pit is done, meaning that he's got pathogen glands just about finished as well, and he's going to be looking very good. But holy moly, have a look at all these Marines here. They've got 1-1 at the moment. A couple of tanks going to try and support them as well. Looking to take this 4th base, I think, is Liquid Sea, and a couple of Lings just straying a little bit too close for comfort there, getting taken down by some of those tanks. So C has a brilliant macro position for a Terran player. He's up at 3 bases, going to have a 4th base very soon. We've got the Great Wall of Sea just sort of across this position here. That keep in mind, that is a total of how many is that? That's 5 racks with reactors here. Of course, the Tech Lab just about to finish up the combat shields, because he sort of delayed that for just a little bit. One medevac just speeding across the left-hand side of the map, trying to find any extra outlying bases that he might want to try and take out. But C, as I said, in a really nice macro position right now. He's going to lose a couple of these Marines, but I mean, that was like 8 Marines. Who actually cares when you can produce upwards of like 10 at a time? So C, now with the second factory, of course, bringing out 2 tanks at a time, really helping out with his defense against the roaches and the lings and all these terrible things. Looks like he is going to drop down at the 6th base here, just doing a little bit of pressure. This is one of these few times where there has been some action in the game. C not happy with the fact that there are 2 spine crawlers there poking his Marines in the eyes, and that's never good. So we will have to evacuate that for the time being. So as we can see, Yellow has finished up that hive. He's got the Great Aspire on the way now, just turning into that little mushroom head there and morphing away. He has got, wow, what is this? The Great Migration of the Overlords, just heading across to the western side of the map. Not really sure what the plan is there. Perhaps it's warmer at that time of year. But he's going to try and drop down and deal with some of those. Meanwhile, C just sort of pushing into the middle section of the map. The tanks will slowly try and leapfrog their way through the middle, but while he's on siege, it looks like Yellow is going to try and attack those Baneling landmines. Oh my god, let's keep an eye on those, because they're in a really nice position, but C so far has skirted that danger, and is now looking to try and push into this set of position here. All of these Marines just bouncing around, trying to get some damage done, but not really too much just at the moment, just sort of establishing himself in this middle section here. He's now going to try and clear out some of these creep tumors. He just wants to make sure that everything is split quite nicely. You don't want to take too many fungals in the face if you're all of those Marines, because I mean, there are 83 Marines out on the map, 9 tanks as we can see just slowly starting to move across here, and the Infestors are going to have to be very, very careful depending on their movements. If they get out of place and the tanks can snipe them down, that is going to be a lot of trouble here for Yellow. So he's in a little bit of a bind right now. These Marines with 2-2, the tanks have got +1 on their weapons, and C just looking to try and get in a really nice spot here. He actually jumping into that position there, perhaps not the best idea. The roaches on the high ground dealing with that quite easily, and we are sort of in this position where C is just slowly encroaching on his opponent. Look at all these Marines just now pushing into that 3rd base, the 4th base I should say. But here come the Broodlords. There are 6 of them that have morphed in. They've got Infestors to cover them on the ground as well. Roach is now going to try and tank some of the damage, and I think C may want to try and pull back for now. This may not be the best time to engage when you've got all these Broodlords up in the air, and while there are certainly a huge amount of those Marines, I don't think he's going to be able to fight with the fact that the Infestors are on the high ground. The Broodlords can use those for cover, and this is probably not going to go too well, but the Marines are just going to charge in anyway. He's Liquid Sea, he doesn't care. Now moving the tanks forward, I'm very surprised about that, but of course this 4th base now down, The 5th across to the side is not really mining too well here for Yellow, but he is going to pull back for the moment, re-sieging up because he saw that the Zerg units were approaching him. But now, as we can see, C is just losing Marine after Marine. He is producing 14 at a time. 2 Ravens are also on the way. The Corvid reactor also being researched. So he is going to try and switch across to that sort of mid to late game stage where those units, those very powerful units come out, evacuating as many of these tanks as he can. He did pick up 5 of them, and we'll get a couple of Marines out with that as well. But he's not going to lose, he's going to lose a couple of the tanks in that transitional phase there. So C, sitting in a position where he's pretty comfortable. Of course, he's got his 2-2 is done, but no 3-3 on the way just yet. I'm a little bit surprised about that from him, but he does have the 4th base mining away quite nicely. Up there at 68 SCVs, so not too bad at all. Sitting on a reasonably good economy. Meanwhile, for our Zerg buddy in the red-yellow, he's up to, what was it, 83 drones. Wow, he's up at a very high count of those at the moment. Does have his 5th base relatively well established. As we can see, mining is has started there. The spine crawler just moving across to make sure that's adequately defended. And he does have 3-3 on his ground attack units upgraded, well, just about upgraded. And he will be able to perhaps switch into some ultras very soon. But here we go. It looks like C has decided it's time to go. The Infest is a little bit out of position, but look at that concave from C. But look at the fungals on every single Marine just about. But the thing is, it does not matter because the Marines do so much damage there. C is probably going to win this battle here, and unless he gets stopped by some other sort of dangerous force from Yellow, he could actually win the game right here, right now. 14 Marines, keep in mind, are being pumped out at a time. They're on their way across the map, just snaking down through the expansion here, and it looks like C is going to try and push in now, but a whole bunch of Lings have come out, a couple of Infested Terrans as well, with that 3-3, or 2-3 at the moment, now done on those Lings. He should be able to clean that up, and he does so quite easily. So Yellow, fighting back, he's going to say, you know what, we're not done just yet. We're going to continue on. We're going to try and get some of these low-cost units out. We're going to try and trade with those high-cost tanks and those sorts of things. And I'm going to try and keep myself in this game. But see, back at home has already started preparations for the late game. We've already got 10 Vikings out already. They do not have any upgrades just as of yet, and a couple of these starports still continuing to produce some more Ravens as well. Of course, the Ravens, a very potent part of late game TvZ. If you can get them down with a beautiful Hunter Seeker missile on those big packs of Broodlords, on the big packs of Corruptors, if it gets to that stage as well, you can actually just win fights purely because of the Ravens. So we'll see if we get to that stage. As we can see, Yellow now preparing a lot of Zergs. I'm really happy to see this. A lot of Zergs still sometimes forego this kind of preparation for drop defense in the late game stage as well. You do see a lot of Terrans start to switch up to the higher tech units at this stage. They will sometimes throw out the odd drop, so it's good to be prepared for these kind of things. A couple of Spore Crawlers just setting up along with some Spines as well, just making sure that he's prepared for all of those things there. What I would like to see is perhaps a little more defense inside the main as well. You never know if a medevac will somehow sneak its way through the side, drop inside the main, and start hacking down these big tech buildings here, like the Hive, the Great Aspire. You've of course got the spawning pool at the back as well, so you got to be very careful of these things. It looks like C is going to catch out these Marines that were trying to do a run by here. Sorry, the Lings that were trying to do a run by, and we'll decimate most of those forces here. The rest of them will get inside this particular base here. Some extra forces now coming across. Marine Marauder mix here from Liquid Sea, along with the Vikings up in the sky. There are a few Ravens out now as well. As we have a quick look at the well, not that income there. We wanted the actual harvester tab. There it is. 70 drones out for Yellow at the moment. Liquid Sea currently still sitting on that 68 SCV count. He may want to start looking to drop that down a little bit soon, because he should be starting to perhaps build up a couple more orbital commands to make sure he has those medevacs, not the medevacs, the mules available. But as we can see, a couple of extra starports there going to help him with the production. As we can see for Yellow, wow, he's got quite a lot of these Broodlords out. We've got a total of 10. Then 22 Corruptors are out on the map. So he's going to make sure he has defense against those Vikings. Of course, the Ravens as well, if he can snipe them down before any of those Hunter Seekers get out. And there it is, the Hunter Seekers being researched right now by C. He's also got the durable materials upgrade on the way. Of course, increasing the Seeker missile time, the seek time, I suppose you could say. and the auto turrets will also benefit from that as well if he decides to throw some of those down. Of course, they start to, when they've got that upgrade, they last for, I think it's around about 17 years is how long they last for, so you got to be careful of those. But the upgrades for Yellow at the moment, a little bit lacking in his air upgrades. As we can see, he's still on 0-1 for these Corruptors and the Broodlords, of course, but there is a little Baneling run-by coming into the, what is going to be the 5th base of Liquid Sea. Is going to try and snipe down some of those SCVs, does get the majority of them. The Planetary Fortress is also in jeopardy as well now, down to 150 health, but does get repaired. Nicely done, cancelling the construction of those extra refineries, and does keep the planetary alive for the time being. So C just really taking his time. He's being very patient. He's not overcommitting. He's not doing a million things at once and trying to just you know, really sort of out micro his opponent. He's just sort of sitting back, getting this big force of Vikings and Ravens out, making sure he's prepared for that late game stage when we have this engagement that is generally going to be a very clumped up situation. As you can see, when you clump up these Corruptors, when you clump up the Broodlords as well, a couple of Hunter Seeker missiles and it is game over, folks. So I don't know, we'll see if we get to that stage, but C now trying to control this middle section of the map. Of course, he's got a lot of vision through here, just scanning when he can to try and keep an eye on where those Broodlords are. You don't want to be caught out of those. If they somehow perhaps head across to the right hand side of the map and try and push in through the main or the natural, you don't want to be caught out of it by that. That's not nice at all. But a couple of infested Terrans now thrown down at this 5th base will be taken down by the Planetary Fortress. The Ibix cannon doing a lot of damage, 40 damage. That thing is absolutely huge. But C, Fusion Core is done. Are we going to see some battle cruisers out from him? You know, I would not be surprised. A lot of people will, of course, will hate on battle cruisers in TvZ, and I will admit they're very troublesome to try and use sometimes, just purely because of the fact that Corruptors throwing down some corruption with perhaps some neural parasites and some fungal from the infestors as well become a little bit of a liability until you get to that point where you've got so many battle cruisers that it's just like, I don't even care what you're doing, I'm just going to blast through everything. So we'll see if he does decide to go for that. Of course, he does have the economy for that. We're still sitting on a total of 62 SCVs for C right now, despite losing a couple at this 5th base, but he will be in a position that he can actually do something about that. What are these drones doing? These guys have just decided it's their day off. They're going to go sightseeing. They're having a quick look on the Terran side of the map, just you know, trying to see what they can find at this section of the map. Interestingly enough, they won't find anything, but as we can see, Yellow now just moving down to his 6th base, just down to the left-hand side. Perhaps a little bit late, but at this sort of stage of the game, he's just a little bit more focused on making sure you're maneuvering correctly, moving these Broodlords into the right spot. Of course, we may even see Yellow try and take advantage of the big caves in the ground, where he might be able to try and sit the Broodlords over and keep them away from some of the Marines on the ground. But I don't know. I doubt Liquid Sea is going to try and maneuver himself into that sort of position, because that might be a little bit of a mistake. But he does have all of these Vikings out. We got a total of 17 Vikings out on the map at the moment. 58 Marines, 9 Marauders, 2 tanks, and a 6 Raven total right now. So he is in that sort of late game stage where he's going to sit here. He's also going to build a couple of planetary fortresses, I would assume, in these positions, just across through the middle here. Not obviously in a very sort of offensive place. Like normally sometimes people like to just sort of put them in these areas where you can say, all right, come at me. These are sort of positions where you can say, all right, if I start to retreat, I've got the planetary fortresses for cover. So he can utilize that. Meanwhile, he's also got a few orbital commands also done to just sort of supplement his income. He can start throwing away some of those SCVs as well. For Yellow, he's still got quite a lot of drones at the moment, but has had to spend quite a lot on making sure he's got good defenses. As we can see, a couple of spying crawlers strewn through the middle of the map. There are a few here at this 4th base as well. And, well, I don't know, he's just sort of building up that Ultralisk cavern, just sort of preparing himself for the late game. But I'm still very surprised that he's sort of got that much lower drone count. But as we can see, a lot, wow, spine crawlers galore here at this 6th base. There are so many of them right now, but he is going to prepare, as we said, for that late game, and he will start to see some of the SCVs coming across, meaning that C is going to start utilizing some more supply in his fighting units. Of course, with all these SCVs dying, it frees up some of that supply. As we can see, 190 supply at the moment for C, so he's not exactly in full-on fighting shape right now, but he probably will start to get either a couple more Ravens, perhaps some battle cruisers out. The upgrades still still just finishing up now for C as well. He's going to have 3-3 on all of these air units in just a moment. We're also getting the high-sec auto tracking, which is something you don't often see these days. The building armor as well also coming along. A couple of sensor towers throughout the map also just thrown about by Liquid C. So he's really just putting himself in a position to make sure that he is well prepared. As we can see, those SCVs probably going to go down shortly. But some infested Terrans going to be thrown up towards this 6th base of Liquid C. Going to try and do some damage here. There is a planetary that is just about to finish. And I doubt the infested Terrans are going to actually get anything done here. It looks like perhaps they might get it to half health, but no further than that. C responding in kind with some repairs. Marine's coming along of his own to clean up the rest of that force. And, well, it looks like C may have a little bit of trouble on his hands. The Broodlords just starting to move into position here. Keep in mind, that's 10 Broodlords. It's not a massive amount. It's not like the 21 21 Broodlords you often see in very late game stages. Why is that? He needs all these Corruptors. We've got a total of, how many is that? 35 Corruptors around for Yellow right now. So he's got a whole heap of those. And it looks like these Marines and the few Marauders that are with them are just saying, you know what? Tally ho, boys. We're going straight into the main. Stims up and he finds that there is absolutely no defense whatsoever. Of course, abusing the fact that the Broodlords are incredibly slow. He's going to target down the Greater Spy. That is now gone. The Hive is also gone as well. Extra hatchery veiling there, so you can probably assume that the spawning pool will be a target of opportunity as well. And the Broodlords finally arrive, and Yellow is just thinking, wow, you guys need some kind of speed boost upgrade. And while that's all going on, Liquid C attacking to the left-hand side of the map, trying to remove some of these spine crawlers here. Well, actually, he should be able to polish off the rest of this hatchery here, despite the high spine crawler amount. But, I mean, that is another economic point for C here. He's going to win that little battle, taking down some of the tech, taking down this hatchery here as well. And, he was able to get double spire up just in time. So we'll see how Yellow is going to respond to this. This does put him in a bit of an awkward position where if he decides to attack just because C has expended quite a lot of his ground forces, all those Marines and Marauders, they're now gone. They're not going to be in the middle of the map. But I'll tell you what, when you've got all of these Vikings with 3-3 here, there are 25 Vikings and 6 Ravens out. And wow, a battlecruiser is also coming through from C. So he is transitioning into that very late game stage here. You don't get to see it too often. In fact, I can't even remember last time I saw a large amount of battlecruisers out for a Terran player, but here they come, starting to really pick up in number 5 being produced at a time. So he's going to start to have a really powerful force here. Of course, the battlecruisers doing 9 damage to their air targets, of course, with the 11 damage to ground as well. So, you know, we'll have to see. Is he going to be able to compete with all of these Corruptors? There are so many Corruptors out of... And, I don't know. I honestly, I'm going to put it out there, you're not really meant to say, I'm not actually sure as a caster, but, you know, I don't know how the battle's going to go. Of course, if some really nice Hunter-Seeker missiles get out, then I think C will be able to take this, but if the battlecruisers get shot down quite early by the Corruptors, then who knows, perhaps Yellow will be able to take this. So, keep an eye on how that battle goes. The hatchery now switching into a lair, of course, because C did take down the Hive, so he did slow down that tech quite a bit. A little bit surprised that our Zerg player, Yellow, has not actually already done that before, but it looks like he is now starting to move in for the attack. C is going to be able to shoot down some of those Broodlords. That does not bode well already for Yellow, and now with all of those Vikings now, got to be careful, may want to try and split those up before you head into battle, but it looks like, yep, there's a little bit of a split, not too bad there by C, but for the moment, Yellow is still just content to sit back for the time being with those 41 Corruptors, 20 Infestors, and 9 Broodlords are out on the map for him at the moment, a very, very potent combination. Meanwhile, for Liquid C, he's got 10 Battlecruisers, 6 Ravens, and a total of 37 Vikings, so certainly quite a lot of a battle to come, I'm sure. We're sitting at the 39-minute mark of this game. It has certainly been quite a long one, so thank you all for keeping up with this one, because it's pretty intense whilst also being pretty passive at the same time. It's a little bit of a weird situation. But as we can see, Yellow going to push in here, throwing down some infested Terran beach balls over the net. They're going to jump straight into this base here. We'll try and take the planetary fortress down, but it looks like he's actually targeting down some of these SCVs at the same time. So getting a few worker kills here, not too bad. I mean, C is not going to matter. He's not going to be too phased about that at all, because he's got a whole bunch of orbital commands around the map, as we mentioned before. Down down to 25 SCVs, which is not exactly a huge amount, but when you get to this sort of stage of the game, it doesn't really matter too much. So looks like we will have a little bit of a push coming in here from yellow. In fact, everything is prepared. There are the battle cruisers, no Yamato cannon, fungal growth going down, and Hunter-Seeker missiles destroying everything. A whole heap of those corruptors have gone down. We're now down to 9, just 9. Some neural parasites there from yellow, trying to capitalize on the situation. But I mean, when you lose upwards of 40 corruptors, the game is pretty much over. And like Kaiser Soze, in a flash, they are gone. And wow, what a game between these two players. It sort of ended with a very quick bang, but I mean, up until that point, very, very weird sort of situation going on, very passive. But hope you all enjoyed that game. We'll be doing a couple more games from the C replay pack of the week, which is up at teamliquidpro.com. You can find it there yourself and have a look, but otherwise, come and have a look on the channel. We'll have some more games coming up very soon. Cheers.